All right, let's jump into a deep dive that's going to get a little bit chemical today.
Okay.
We're going to be exploring fear, but not the emotion itself.
Right?
More like the molecules that are actually driving those feelings.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Cocktail party chemistry. Episode 59, that's what got us thinking about this whole chemistry of fear and panic.
Yeah, so we've got 5 intriguing, I think they call them factoids, to kind of unpack here.
Okay.
We've got adrenaline, fear pheromones, beta blockers, the amygdala, and psychedelics.
Yeah, let's do it.
Should we dive in?
Absolutely. Let's start with the classic adrenaline, that fight or flight fuel.
Yeah, so we all know that adrenaline gets you pumped up, but
Right.
what's really going on chemically?
Yeah, so adrenaline, it's both a hormone and a neurotransmitter,
Okay.
which means it's acting as a chemical messenger in 2 ways.
Okay.
So as a hormone, it gets released from your adrenal glands, travels through the bloodstream, and that's what causes that rapid heartbeat, that shallow breathing. Right.
But then it's also acting directly on your brain cells, triggering that hyper alert, focused state that you get.
So it's like a double whammy.
It is. Yeah.
Hitting your body and brain at the same time.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting that adrenaline isn't always about fear, though, right?
That's right. And that was actually a key takeaway from that cocktail party chemistry.
Yeah.
They highlighted that, think about the excitement you get on a roller coaster, or the focus you have when you're working on a challenging project, or even that runner's high.
Yeah.
All of that is fueled by adrenaline, too.
So my brain is basically chemically rewarding me for pushing my limits.
Pretty much.
With adrenaline. That's pretty cool.
It is.
But hold on, though.
Okay.
What about endorphins?
Oh, yes.
Are those part of this, too?
Great question.
Yeah.
So endorphins, those are part of your brain's natural opioid system.
Okay.
And this system plays a big role in how we experience pleasure and pain.
Okay.
And yes, both adrenaline and endorphins can stimulate this system.
So that runner's high, it's not just adrenaline. It's like a complex cocktail of all these feel-good chemicals that are rewarding you for the effort.
Oh, wow. So it's like a whole intricate system for pushing our limits and then rewarding us for doing it.
Exactly.
That's awesome. But I'm guessing there's a lot more to fear than just adrenaline, though, right?
You're right. If we kind of zoom out and connect this to the bigger picture, adrenaline is just one player in a much larger system.
Yeah.
Remember, we've also got fear pheromones to think about.
Ooh, okay. This is where it gets really interesting.
Right.
Can we actually smell fear? Is that a real thing?
Well, that's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
The idea is that animals, and maybe even humans, release these chemical signals that trigger a fear response in others.
Oh, okay.
So think about how, dogs can sense fear or anxiety in people.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, but also a bit of a mystery.
It's like a sixth sense for danger or something.
Yeah.
But cocktail party chemistry talked about a drug that makes people smell things that aren't there.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
And that just highlights how easily our sense of smell can be manipulated, which kind of makes you think, if we can be tricked into smelling phantom scents, how much can we trust our noses when it comes to something as subtle as a fear pheromone?
That's true. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Maybe we can't literally smell fear, but maybe there's something else going on subconsciously.
Right.
We're not really aware of.
Yeah, some kind of chemical communication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do we even begin to study something like that?
Well, that's where things get tricky. Research on human fear pheromones, it's still very much debated.
Okay.
But just think about the implications for a second.
Yeah.
If we could consciously smell fear,
Right.
how would that change our social interactions?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we need to ponder on that one a little bit.
Yeah.
But for now, let's maybe move on to something a little more concrete,
Okay.
like beta blockers.
Right.
So these are medications, right? How do they kind of fit into this chemistry of fear thing?
So beta blockers were originally used for heart conditions because they actually block the effects of adrenaline. But it turns out they also have this calming effect on anxiety.
So they're like a chemical shield
Yeah.
against the physical symptoms of anxiety.
Kind of.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, beta blockers work by preventing adrenaline from binding to certain receptors in your body.
Okay.
So it can't trigger that racing heart and rapid breathing that we usually associate with fear and anxiety.
So it's like putting up a do not enter sign
Pretty much, yeah.
for adrenaline.
Yeah.
I'm curious, does this have anything to do with how beta blockers are being looked at as a potential treatment for PTSD?
You're thinking along the right lines.
Yeah.
Remember how cocktail party chemistry mentioned a drug that could erase memories?
Yes.
Well, while beta blockers can't actually erase memories, they can reduce the emotional intensity
Oh.
of traumatic memories so they're less distressing.
So by calming those physical reactions, it's like they kind of lessen the emotional grip of those traumatic memories.
It's a really intriguing area of research,
Yeah.
and it actually brings us to another fascinating player in the fear response, the amygdala.
Okay, time to meet the amygdala. Is it fair to say that it's like mission control for everything scary?
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
So the amygdala, it's constantly scanning your environment for potential threats, processing information from your senses, and deciding whether or not to trigger that fear response.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's also really heavily involved in forming memories, especially those tied to strong emotions like fear.
So it's like our brain's tiny bodyguard, always on high alert.
Always watching.
Oh, wait, didn't we say earlier that the amygdala also plays a role in pleasure?
You have a great memory.
Yeah.
It seems paradoxical, but it's involved in both.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to survival.
Okay.
The amygdala helps us learn from both positive and negative experiences,
Okay.
like this balancing act, to help us avoid danger, but also motivate us to seek out rewards.
Okay, so it's constantly weighing risk and reward, trying to keep us safe, but also allowing us to enjoy the good things.
Exactly.
That's amazing. Okay, so what about psychedelics then?
Okay.
Where do they fit in?
So that's where we really start to see how our understanding of fear is kind of evolving.
Okay.
So psychedelics like psilocybin from magic mushrooms, they're being studied for their potential to treat anxiety and even help people confront their fear of death.
Wait, so the same compounds that can create those like mind-bending visuals
Yeah.
can also help people deal with fear and anxiety.
It seems that way.
How is that possible?
It's still early research, but it seems like psychedelics can actually rewire certain fear responses in the brain. Imagine being able to break free from deeply ingrained fear patterns.
So it's like hitting the reset button on those automatic fear reactions.
Exactly. And there's even some evidence suggesting that psilocybin can help terminally ill patients experience less fear about dying. Like it allows them to kind of face their mortality with a greater sense of peace and acceptance.
That's really remarkable. So psychedelics are often associated with altering consciousness.
Yeah.
But they could hold the key to unlocking new ways of understanding and treating fear.
Yeah. It's an exciting and evolving field for sure, full of possibilities.
Wow.
Yeah.
And to think this is just the beginning of our deep dive.
I know, right?
We have so much more to explore.
We do. Welcome back to our deep dive into the chemistry of fear.
I'm still amazed by all the fascinating insights we've uncovered so far. Who knew that the chemistry of fear could be so complex and, frankly, a bit mind-bending? What other chemical curiosities do you have for us?
Well, let's talk about something that might seem a bit unexpected. Toxins.
Toxins, as in the stuff that can make us sick or even kill us.
Right.
How does that relate to fear?
Yeah, I know it sounds counterintuitive, but some toxins, especially those found in venom, have actually become powerful tools in neuroscience research.
So you're telling me that venom, the stuff that's known for its danger, can actually help us understand the brain?
It's true. Venom often contains these incredibly potent and specific molecules that target very particular parts of the nervous system.
Oh.
Think of it like a key fitting into a lock.
Yeah.
These toxins can precisely affect how nerve cells communicate.
So how does that help us understand fear?
Well, fear and anxiety involve this complex communication between nerve cells and the brain. And by using these targeted venom toxins, researchers can essentially turn off specific parts of these communication pathways and observe the effects.
So it's like scientists are using venom to dissect fear circuits in the brain, figuring out how each piece contributes to the overall experience of fear.
That's a great way to put it. Remember that cocktail party chemistry mentioned dendrotoxin, the toxin found in black mamba venom?
Oh, yeah, the black mamba.
Yeah.
One of the deadliest snakes in the world.
Exactly.
What does dendrotoxin do?
So dendrotoxin specifically blocks potassium channels, which are these tiny gateways on nerve cells that control the flow of electrical signals. By blocking these channels, the toxin disrupts the delicate balance of electrical activity in the brain.
Okay, so that's how it can cause paralysis and seizures.
Right.
But how does this help scientists study fear?
Well, by observing the effects of dendrotoxin on brain activity, researchers can gain a deeper understanding of how potassium channels and the electrical signaling they control contribute to the fear response.
That's incredible. So dendrotoxin is like a tiny but powerful tool that allows scientists to pinpoint the role of specific parts of the nervous system in fear.
Exactly. And dendrotoxin is just one example. Another intriguing toxin mentioned in cocktail party chemistry is bungarotoxin.
Bungarotoxin. Okay, that name rings a bell.
Yeah.
Doesn't it have something to do with acetylcholine?
You're absolutely right. Bungarotoxin targets acetylcholine receptors, which are involved in muscle movement, memory, and attention. In fact, bungarotoxin is actually a powerful paralytic agent because it blocks acetylcholine from binding to those receptors.
So, like dendrotoxin, it disrupts communication between nerve cells, but in this case, it's targeting a different messenger system.
Precisely. And by studying the effects of bungarotoxin, researchers can map out the location and function of acetylcholine receptors in the brain, including how they contribute to fear and anxiety.
It's amazing to think that these potentially deadly toxins can also unlock secrets about how our brains work.
It truly is. And there's another venom toxin with a fascinating application. Chlorotoxin.
Chlorotoxin.
So this one is found in the venom of the deathstalker scorpion.
A deathstalker scorpion. That name alone sounds pretty intimidating.
Right.
What does chlorotoxin do?
What's remarkable about chlorotoxin is that it specifically targets glioma cells, which are a type of brain cancer cell.
Wait a minute. You're saying this scorpion venom toxin can actually target cancer cells in the brain?
That's exactly right.
What?
And because it binds so specifically to glioma cells, researchers are exploring its potential for delivering drugs directly to brain tumors.
It's like a guided missile that can deliver medication directly to the cancer cells, minimizing damage to healthy tissue.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Now, while chlorotoxin itself doesn't directly target fear pathways, its discovery really highlights the incredible potential of venom toxins for developing these targeted therapies.
This is all so fascinating. I'm really starting to see how the study of venom toxins has revolutionized our understanding of the brain.
It really has. And speaking of toxins that directly affect the fear response, we can't forget cobra venom cardiotoxin.
Cardiotoxin. Okay, so I'm guessing this one affects the heart.
Yes. Cobra venom cardiotoxin disrupts the balance of ions in heart muscle cells, making them more sensitive to the effects of adrenaline.
So it's like turning up the volume on the physical symptoms of fear, like a racing heart.
That's a good way to put it. By studying this, toxin researchers can gain a better understanding of how the heart responds to stress and fear, and how those responses are influenced by the nervous system.
This is all so incredibly intricate. It's like peeling back layers of an onion, revealing more and more complexity with each discovery.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's one final toxin I want to mention just because it's so fascinating. Halitoxin.
Halitoxin.
Now, this one's produced by certain types of marine coral.
Wow.
And is considered one of the most potent toxins known to science.
Even more potent than cobra venom.
Wow.
What makes halitoxin so dangerous?
Well, unlike most venom toxins that target specific channels, halitoxin essentially throws open the floodgates of ion channels in cells.
Oh, wow.
Leading to a massive disruption of cellular function. It's incredibly toxic, even in tiny amounts.
That sounds terrifying. But how does this relate to our discussion on fear?
While halitoxin doesn't directly target fear pathways, its extreme toxicity serves as a reminder of the delicate balance required for our cells to function properly. Even subtle alterations in ion channel function can have these catastrophic effects.
Okay, I see your point. It highlights the incredible precision and complexity of the chemical processes that keep us alive and functioning.
Exactly. It's a sobering thought, but also a testament to the incredible resilience and adaptability of life.
This has been an incredible journey so far. We've explored the chemistry of adrenaline, the mystery of fear pheromones, the calming effects of beta blockers, the role of the amygdala, the potential of psychedelics, and now this fascinating world of venom toxins.
And believe it or not, we're not done yet. There are still some surprising connections to uncover in Part 3.
Oh, really?
Connections that link the chemistry of fear to seemingly unrelated areas of science.
I'm on the edge of my seat. Let's take a break and we'll be right back with the final part of our deep dive into the chemistry of fear. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the chemistry of fear. From adrenaline to venom toxins, we've uncovered some amazing insights.
We have. And as promised, we have a few more surprising connections to explore. Are you ready for a curveball?
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
This one involves the liver.
The liver? I thought we were talking about fear, not digestion.
Right. It seems like a strange leap. But remember how cocktail party chemistry mentioned that the liver has its own internal clock?
Oh, yeah, it's like the liver has its own schedule.
Exactly. It operates on a circadian rhythm, meaning its activity levels fluctuate throughout the day. This affects how it processes substances, including medications and hormones.
Okay, so that explains why some medications need to be taken at specific times. But how does this connect to fear?
Well, the liver also processes adrenaline, so the time of day can actually influence how efficiently your body handles that fight or flight response.
Wow, so even something as seemingly unrelated as the liver's daily rhythm can play a role in how we experience fear.
It really highlights the interconnectedness of our body's systems. But that's not the only surprising connection we have. Ready for another one?
Hit me with it.
Let's talk about the FDA.
The FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, what do they have to do with fear?
It's more about the context surrounding fear. Remember cocktail party chemistry mentioned the FDA keeps a list of words that can't be used in drug names.
Oh, yeah, like cure or magic, words that could be misleading.
Exactly. The FDA wants to ensure drug names are accurate and don't create false expectations. Now think about fear. It often comes from uncertainty and lack of control. When we understand something, we're less likely to be afraid of it.
So the FDA, by regulating drug names and providing clear information, is actually playing a role in reducing fear and uncertainty around medications.
It's an interesting perspective, isn't it? But we have one last surprising connection to explore. Believe it or not, it involves food presentation.
Food presentation. Are we talking about fancy plating techniques now?
Yes. Remember how cocktail party chemistry pointed out that how food is presented can actually influence how it tastes?
Right, like a beautifully plated dish might taste better than the same food just slopped on a plate.
Exactly. Our brains process visual information before taste, so the appearance of food creates expectations that can influence our perception.
So it's not just about the ingredients, but the entire sensory experience.
And this connects to fear in a subtle way. Think about when we encounter something unfamiliar or visually unappealing, like a plate of exotic insects.
Okay, yeah, I get it. That initial feeling of aversion or disgust might be a primal fear response, a way of protecting ourselves from potentially harmful foods.
Precisely. It's fascinating how these deeply ingrained evolutionary mechanisms can still influence our reactions today.
This deep dive has been incredible. We've gone from adrenaline to venom toxins to the liver, the FDA, and now food presentation. Who knew the chemistry of fear could be so far-reaching?
It's been quite a journey, hasn't it? But it all points to one important takeaway. Fear is a complex phenomenon that touches every aspect of our lives. It's influenced by our biology, our psychology, and even our culture.
And while fear can be powerful and sometimes debilitating, understanding the science behind it can give us a sense of control.
Absolutely. By understanding the molecular mechanisms and neural pathways involved, we can learn to differentiate between rational and irrational fears and develop strategies for managing fear and anxiety.
It's not about eliminating fear entirely, but about learning to navigate it in a healthy and productive way.
Exactly. Fear can be a powerful motivator, but it can also hold us back. The key is to find that balance, that sweet spot where fear serves as a guide rather than a dictator.
Well said. We've gained a new appreciation for the complexity and wonder of fear. It's not just a feeling, it's a fascinating story written in the language of chemistry. Thanks for joining us on this incredible exploration. We hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into the chemistry of fear. Until next time, stay curious.